Alright, so here we have the some data that indicates the number of CDs. We're going to use this and create a box and whisker plot. So I'm going to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. We've got a 1. I'm going to cross it off to keep track of them as we go, and we don't use numbers more than once. There's a 2. There's a 3. There's a 5. There are 2 6s. 2 7s. There's an 8. There are 2 9s. There is a 10. There's 2 11s. There's a 13. And there is a 14. As we create a box and whisker plot, we basically need to know 5 things. We need to know the upper extreme. We'll need to know the lower extreme. We'll need to know the median. We'll need to know the upper quartile. And we'll also need to know the lower quartile. The upper extreme is just the highest number. So if we look at that, our highest number is 14. So that's our upper extreme. The lower extreme is the lowest number. That's a 1. Now if we want to find the median, we've got to find what's in the middle. So I'm just going to cross off the lowest and highest and work my way to the middle. So there's the lowest and there's the highest. I'm going to continue this. The next lowest, next highest, 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 next lowest, next highest. And now we're in between those two numbers. So what we need to do is we need to find the average of those two numbers. So we have 7 plus 8 and divide it by 2. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So our median is 7.5. So we're going to need this number, 7.5. We're going to need the upper extreme of 14. We're going to need the lower extreme of 1. And now we need to find the upper quartile and the lower quartile. And to do so, we're going to now, here is where the median is, right in here. So there's the median. That splits the data into a lower half and a higher half, or an upper half. The upper quartile would be the median of the top half of the data. So I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to focus on these numbers here and find the median of that. So I'm going to do the lowest, highest, next lowest, next highest, next lowest, next highest, and it's coming between 10 and 11. So I'm going to do 10 plus 11, divide by 5. When we do that, we get 10.5 for the upper quartile. Now for the lower quartile, that's the median of the bottom half of the data. So I'm focusing on this stuff here circled in black. I'm going to find the median of that. So I'm going to cross off the lowest, the highest, next lowest, next highest, next lowest, next highest, and it falls in between 5 and 6. So to find that, I'm going to do 5 plus 6, divide that by 2, and we're going to find out that that's going to be 5.5. Now I'm going to get a number line, and I want to set up a number line so it includes all those things. The lower extreme is 1, and the upper extreme is 14. So I want to label this number line so that I can get all of those points on there. So I'm going to start with 1. I'm going to go every other. This would be 3, and so on. Okay. Now that I've got that, I'm going to put a point just above the number line to represent those 5 things. So the upper extreme is 14, so I'm going to put a point there. Lower extreme is 1, so I'm going to put a point there. The median's at 7.5, so I'm going to put a point approximately there. The upper quartile is 10.5, so I'm going to put a point approximately there. And the lower quartile is 5.5, so I'm going to put a point approximately there. The points in the middle, the 3 points in the middle, create a box. and the one that's in the middle of that is going to be the median. And we do the whiskers going from the upper quartile out to the upper extreme and from the lower quartile to the lower extreme. So there's our box and whisker plot. Alright, so here we want to make a box and whisker plot that compares American League to the National League. So we're going to put two box and whisker plots on one. So for the American League, I'm going to put, that's going to be the upper extreme. That's the highest number, so they're actually in order from greatest to least. So here's the highest number for the American League. So the upper extreme is 52. The lower extreme is 35. The median is what's in the middle. So if we work our way to the middle, we got one, highest, lowest, next lowest, next highest, next lowest, next highest, next lowest, and that turns out to be 41. The upper quartile, put for UQ, is going to be the median of the top half of the data. So here's the median right here, and now we want to focus on just the upper numbers here, and that comes in, so we go highest, lowest, and now it becomes between 49 and 47, which would be 48. If we do that for the low, we got these four numbers, cross off the highest and lowest, and it becomes between 37 and 38, which is, so for the lower quartile, we're looking at 37.5. Now for the NL, the upper extreme is 73. The lower extreme is 38. The median, if we work our way from lowest to highest, cross those off, turns out to be here at 49. The upper quartile and lower quartiles we got to find next. So if we look at the upper quartile, we're looking at these four numbers here, and we cross off the lowest and highest. It becomes between 41 and 39, which gives us 40. The lower quartile, cross off the lowest and highest, falls between 64 and 57, which is 60 and a half, or 60.5. So I'm going to put a number line down here, and I want to make sure that I include all those values here. So I'm going to go from 30 all up to 75, and I'm going to go by fives. Okay. And the American League, I'm going to put that in there. We've got the upper quartile is 52, so that's about right here. Lower quartile is 35. The median is around 41. The upper quartile is at 48. And the lower quartile is 37 and a half approximately. So we'll box around the three numbers in the middle. There's the median going through the middle, and then put the whiskers on. So this one in red represents the AL. I'm going to do the NL in green. So 73 is the upper quartile, 38 is the lower quartile, the median 49, upper quartile is at 40, lower quartile, I mean, these are flipped. This should be the lower quartile, and this should be the upper quartile, and then 60 and a half. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . and this represents the NL. Now, if we were going to write a paragraph, some things you might want to include, you might say like the National League has a higher upper extreme than the American League. The American League has a lower extreme than the National League. The median of the American League is lower than the median of the National League. The range of home runs is greater for the National League compared to the range of home runs for the American League. Those are just some things. There's other things you could say, but that's just a few right there.